Good evening, everyone. Can I ask you all please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's town board meeting. It's December 9th, 2025. First thing on our agenda is bids and awards. This is authorization to award the bid, purchase order number 1312601 for garbage, rubbish, trash, and recyclables collection in the town of Mount Pleasant and Valhalla Refuse and Sanitation Districts to CRP Sanitation, effective January 1st, 2026. Just so you're aware, through the bid process, CRP was $200,000 less than the other bid.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Motion by Mark,
I'll second that, please.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. I think most,
Can you please speak up? I'm sorry.
Who is that?
A little louder.
you can't hear me? I have such a soft voice, you know. That good?
Who's coughing?
Any better? Any better now?
Maybe come closer.
How's that?
Speak into the mic, you can hear, I can hear you.
No, I meant maybe you come sit closer. It might help.
I don't want to swallow it.
You could sit up front.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but now it's kind of static.
Yeah.
Like a Verizon commercial.
Okay, you ready? Number 2.
Next item is authorization to solicit bids for delivery of caustic soda, 25%, for 2 water treatment plants. Water treatment plants. It's resolution 44625.
Move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
Second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is public hearings. Continued public hearing on the preliminary 2026 town budget. Prior to, I just wanted to read something. As we continue our discussions on the final 2026 budget, it is important to reflect on the progress, challenges, and accomplishments achieved over the past 11 years. Town of Mount Pleasant, home to approximately 45,000 residents, encompasses a broad and diverse area from the Hudson River, Sleepy Hollow to the west, Briarcliff Manor and Newcastle to the north, Chappaqua, North Castle to the east, and North White Plains to the south. It is a community larger and more complex than many fully recognize. Like any home, municipal buildings and facilities require ongoing maintenance and investment. Without consistent attention, deterioration is inevitable. When I first took office, an immediate concern was the failing condition of the town hall driveway and entrance. It was cracked pavement, repeated patchwork, and the lack of adequate handicap access and parking presented both safety and compliance issues. Inside the building, the roof required repairs. Interior finishes were worn, HVAC systems were aging, the elevator experienced frequent breakdowns, and leaky pipes in the heating system caused recurring damage in the police communication rooms and offices. The community center, including its main building, pool, and shower rooms, had also reached a critical point after 25 years of use. While the Parks Department maintained the facility admirably, the parking lot, building facade, and HVAC systems required significant upgrades. As we all know, deferred maintenance only increases long-term cost, and we acted accordingly. The Highway Department facilities faced similar challenge: a flat roof that leaked into offices, aging heating systems, outdated electrical systems, and an exterior building that required stucco work, insulation, and painting. We also modernized essential equipment town-wide. When I began, some of the police vehicles could not even pass inspections, and several highway trucks were well past their useful life. Investments in safety, reliability, and efficiency were necessary. Across the community, we addressed critical infrastructure needs, including road work, drainage, water main replacement, and improvements to the water supply system. Much of this work was financed responsibly through bonding at a time when interest rates were at historical lows. The town's strong fiscal management reflected in its consistent AAA, AA1, and AA2 bond ratings to date, when it enabled us to borrow at favorable rates. We also aggressively pursued grant opportunities to offset project costs. Importantly, no new borrowing is anticipated for the coming year. From 2008 to 2012, the town faced severe economic challenges, including a significant reduced fund balance and the difficult decision to lay off approximately 16 employees at that time, most of whom have not been replaced to date. We have always operated lean, and that remains true today. At that time, many of our employees were among the lowest paid in Westchester County. To retain skilled staff and maintain service levels expected by our residents, we began gradually adjusting salaries towards county averages. Highway employees who had gone more than 8 years without a contract and did not contribute to health care at the time now do so in line with other departments as compensation has improved. Public safety has always been a top priority. Maintaining an excellent police force and robust emergency services is not, in my view, a place for compromise, even when doing so carries substantial cost. The use of fund balance has been a subject of public discussion recently. Over the past 10 years, we used a portion of it strategically to keep taxes increase within the 2% range. Fund balance is taxpayers' money, and during periods of economic strain, some of that benefit to the community is both reasonable and responsible. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the town was far better positioned than most other municipalities. Thanks to prior infrastructure improvements, we remained safely open and operational even as other municipalities were forced to close. Most importantly, we did not need to borrow to navigate the challenges of that period. Looking forward, rebuilding the fund balance to recommended levels remains a priority as we continue delivering the high-quality services our residents expect and deserve. I'm proud of what we have accomplished over these 11 years. Together, we have strengthened our infrastructure, modernized vital facilities, supported our workforce, and positioned our community to meet future challenges, including those we cannot predict, such as severe effects of weather and other natural events. Thank you for bearing with me on that. At this time, the public hearing is continued on the preliminary 26 budget, and you're welcome to offer your comments. I'm sorry, Noreen, if you want to, we want to start with a brief presentation from Noreen, our controller.
Good evening, Honorable Town Board and Honorable Town Supervisor. So I just put together another quick PowerPoint just to kind of portray what's going on. We were asked to take a look, and Carl can speak further on this in a little bit, take a look at what we can cut out with regards to keeping the taxes down lower. We can cut out potentially, it may cause savings, things such as leaf pickup, garbage pickup, recycling, recreation programs, Office of Elder American programs, and parks facilities. These are some thoughts and places that we could potentially cut back that may offer some savings, but that affects every taxpayer differently. This is just a spreadsheet that was put together. with regards to just what our taxes look like in comparison to places like Town of Greenberg, Mamaroneck, and Yorktown. Both. I don't know if it goes bigger. It won't let me go bigger, but just so you have, and I can read it out loud, and then we can make it public on the website later on. Does that help with the lights? It does? Oh, okay. Bit better? Oh, okay. We can make it available afterwards. With regards to a property that's assessed at $1 million for the town outside, which is just the town portion of Mount Pleasant, an average cost of taxes is roughly $1,800. Greenberg, for example, for comparison, is roughly $4,500. Mamaroneck is roughly $2,800, and Yorktown is approximately $2,900. And then for the village portions, for example, Pleasantville, it looks at approximately $155 for $1 million property. Irvington, it looks like $386, and Larchmont looks like it's approximately $536 also. So just to kind of show how our taxes fall within neighboring municipalities, just to give you an idea. So we'll make sure this gets out here so it can be seen better. This is just same analysis done just on a property that's assessed at $750,000. So it's the same type of comparison, just different property. And this is just to kind of give a recap of where we fall for the tax rate, where we're standing at now. And this is just based on, for a town outside, a property valued at $911,000 roughly. We're looking at an estimated increase of approximately $233. Village of Sleepy Hollow for a property assessed at $860,000, looking at an increase of roughly $60, and then a property in Pleasantville with roughly an $800,000 assessment, $810,000. We're looking at a $56 increase roughly. It's just one property. It's just an example of one property assessed. This is considered a median value property, and these.
Can we
It's
hold
not an
the
average of
question?
homes. It's what's considered the average cost of a home.
Can we hold the questions until completed, and you're welcome to come up and ask questions. Thank you.
And then this is just a reminder that the town's portion of the taxes collected every year is on the smaller piece. We're about 15%, the county's about 15%, and the school district's around 70%.
Just picking up on the slide that Noreen brought up about potential savings, it was brought to our attention, do we look at other ways of possibly saving money? We look at leaf pickup. It's not that simple. There's a lot of people in town who do not want to be able to have to bag their leaves or bring them to an off-site location. Creating an off-site location would also require that site being manned, and you need a certain amount of property to do that. If we do strictly bagging, it would require staff to also go out there with our grapple truck and pick up all the bags, which could be considerably time-consuming also. And again, most residents do not want to do that. The garbage pickup, we looked at the possibility of one garbage pickup a week. According to the Carter, that would require them to run 2 trucks to pick up the additional load that would be produced by just picking up once a week. The recycling pickup, I have not heard many people wanted to bring their recycling to an off-site location, which again would mean creating a site with containers there where people would bring their recycling. These are things that happen like way upstate. Most people in this town don't seem to be inclined to want to do those things. But we're open to suggestions. recreation programs. We cut programs the best we could as far as making sure that if programs do not break even or produce revenue, we were cutting those out. Office of Elder Americans, I think we have a wonderful program for our elder Americans, and there's nothing that we saw in there that we would like to see cut. And our parks facilities, again, we run a very lean employee staffing in parks also, and those guys do a wonderful job of keeping our town looking great. So there's nothing, I am open to suggestions, but there was nothing that jumped out to us that said, you know what, we can make a big savings here. So at this point, there's nothing that we thought we should cut out of the budget at this point to create a minimal savings. But we're open to suggestions. Again, you're welcome to come up and make your comments as the public hearing is open. Come on up, please.
If you could just sign in, and then when you get to the mic, state your name.
Hi, I'm Melinda Marshall. I just have a question about what becomes of our recycling for all the sorting and picking up that we do. What happens to it?
It all goes down to Yonkers, the MRF plant down in Yonkers.
And then?
That's a county process down there.
I mean, I'm under the impression that a lot of our recycling does not get recycled. And if we're paying for this pickup and processing, if it's winding up in the trash, that would be material to your decision.
I could follow up on that, but my understanding was the trucks that pick up recycling go down to the Yonkers MRF plant for recycling.
I'm sure that's where they go. I think it's just worth finding out what happens to it, whether this is just a
Good question. Now you
something we're
got-
going through, all of us are going through the motions, and if it's
definitely.
going into the trash, that's all.
No, it's worth looking into. Thank you.
Did you sign in?
Oh, I already did.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, folks. A comment and a question, if I may.
Can you please just state your name?
Comment.
Your name, please?
Ken Marshall. Drawing down the town's reserves indicates just poor fiscal management. New York,
Could you address the board, please? Thank you.
I like to collectively address the board in the room. New York has a state law in place since 2012 limiting how much Mount Pleasant can properly tax levies, which are limited to 2% or the rate of inflation. If the board votes to override the state law, it is sanctioning irresponsible fiscal management and a failure of its role as a fiduciary to taxpayers of this community. And I will state my authority in this matter as a forensic accountant with ample experience in uncovering fraud, mismanagement, and misrepresentation. I'm more than happy to spend ample time with any of the board members and review the line items in this budget. And if you can't find ways to stay within the cap, I am certainly happy to expend any time at your service.
Do you have a copy of the budget?
I do. It's online. I've seen the spreadsheets. It is somewhat inscrutable for those of us in the practice, and I'd be delighted to sit down with the town controller. Is it possible to arrange for a meeting with him or her? I beg your pardon.
I'm sure we can arrange that.
Terrific. Carl, thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Patricia Hawthorne, Patricia Halpin. So thank you for your little rundown and everything that's been done in the last 11 years. It's always good as a reminder to hear, because sometimes we forget all the good stuff that's been done. I've never worked in government, only in corporate America for my career. And in corporate America, this is the time of year where we do our reviews. And there's two portions to it. One is a self-evaluation, which sounds like what you just read off to us. And then there is the manager evaluation on our performance as an individual. And I think that maybe was what Moody's reviewed, what the board did, and the governances, so that the reviews are slightly different from one another. So as a follow-up to 2 weeks ago, when you had the open meeting, and there was a woman who came that time and asked a question of the board, which was, could you let us know what would need to be done in order to make the budget work? What services would need to be eliminated? And the one thing was the leaf pickup as well as snow removal. And I thought suggesting snow removal really impacts everybody's safety, and was as if nobody took any time to think about it, and it was just throwing out what was on top of their mind. And seemed very disingenuous, but I was happy to see that you've given more thought to it, or at least shared it with us. So what I did was I just went into ChatGPT and did a little review and just simply asked it best strategies for a town municipality to reduce spending. And if you haven't done it, I'd recommend it because it really comes up with some good ideas. I'm just going to go over a couple. One of them is implementing multi-year financial planning beyond the current fiscal year to anticipate future costs and revenue trends. This helps avoid short-term fixes and supports sustainable financial health. Another one, prioritizing essential services and delay non-critical projects. Focus on core services like public safety and infrastructure while deferring on scaling back discretionary projects. And communication with the community to let us know what you're thinking of, what you're doing, so we understand. Collaborating and sharing services. So this is something, partnering with neighborhood municipalities, because they're all going through the same thing as we are, and they all have to provide the same services. So maybe collaborating with them that we could have shared expenses, however that would work. Whether that's, some of the things that they say here is public works, IT, or emergency services. And that would reduce duplication and spreads the cost across different municipalities. Engage citizens in the budget decisions for transparency purposes. And the last is, they said, control personnel costs. And it says, since salaries and benefits often consume 70% or more of municipal budgets, consider measurements like reviewing overtime policies, which I think the budget that was shown from last year, the actuals and the budget, there were some departments that went over substantially, and sort of having something in place to meet with those department heads to say, hey, we're in June and you're already beyond where you need to be, let's pull that back. Offering volunteer retirement incentives, I'm not really sure that that could work. I'm assuming we need people here, and cross-training staff for multiple roles. So, and the other things that I was thinking about for our town in particular was, like, we do some subsidies for different offerings, so like camp. Could we, in lean times, maybe we don't subsidize that as much as we do. Activities, which you put up there, trips that they have. And my thing is always, we have 2 recyclings on the same work that there's a holiday. And I don't know, do we all need that? I don't know. I know garbage pickup is important. And then something like the 4th of July, you have those free hot dogs. I don't know how much that would save, but sort of just thinking about things specific for the town where maybe you might be able to save. So I'm just saying, I just went on Google and did ChatGPT to come up with some stuff. I thought it was pretty good. So hopefully you find something helpful in there too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Good evening. My name is Dominic Vita. I live in Hawthorne. I signed in. Over the past several years, our town budgets have shown a pattern. Spending has consistently outpaced revenues, and we've relied heavily on reserves to fill the gap. Now that those reserves have fallen sharply, we're facing significant tax increases, not because of one unusual year, but because of a structural imbalance where recurring costs have been growing faster than recurring revenues. I'm sure most residents understand that costs rise over time, but what they may be struggling with, as I am, is being surprised by very high increases in one year and the uncertainty about how we got here and what comes next. I've not heard, nor do I believe residents are asking for fewer services. I think they're asking for better planning, clearer communication, and stronger oversight so that we don't end up in this situation again. Tonight, my goal is to offer constructive solutions that many other towns use successfully. Solutions that can help our town board get ahead of these challenges rather than reacting to them after the fact. So rather than look backward and ask a series of questions as to what happened to get us here, I'd like to focus on several steps we can take moving forward. You may have considered some of these already and heard some from Patricia, so apologies for any redundancy. First, the town should consider creating an independent ethics and fiscal oversight board. A group of qualified residents, like Mr. Marshall who spoke earlier, could review the budget earlier in the process, look at major spending and hiring decisions, examine procurement practices, and monitor for conflicts of interest. They would be advisory to the board and departments and provide easy-to-read public summaries. This would help build trust and improve transparency at a time when taxpayers really need it. Second, the town should adopt a multi-year financial plan. A 3 to 5 year view would make it much easier to anticipate pressures on spending, reserves, and tax rates, and avoid sudden surprises. Third, the town should adopt a formal fund balance policy. This would set clear rules on how much reserve we need to keep, when we can use it, and how to respond to deficits. It's a simple but powerful tool for stabilizing our finances. Fourth, we need stronger year-round transparency. Quarterly budget to actual updates would help show how spending compares to the approved budget. And a short, plain English summary with the annual budget would help residents understand what's driving tax changes. Fifth, the town should take a practical, good government look at the costs in all areas. To the extent it's done so, thank you. I think it could do more. Not to cut services, but to understand what's driving increases and how we can manage them responsibly. Modernizing fees where appropriate and seeking more grants would also help reduce pressure on taxpayers. Finally, the town should consider establishing a residents' budget advisory committee, similar to those in other Westchester communities, to give residents a structured way to engage earlier in the budget process. At the end of the day, we all want the same things: predictable taxes, strong services, good planning, and a government that communicates openly. These reforms aren't political, they're practical, and they can help stabilize our finances and rebuild confidence in how the town manages taxpayer dollars. Thank you for your time, and I wish all of you and everyone in our community a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and a healthy, prosperous New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I had a meeting with supervisors throughout Westchester County about a week and a half ago, and believe it or not, every municipality is struggling with the same issues. Costs are out of control. How do you control taxes? Revenues get cut. So it's not unique to the town of Mount Pleasant. And I have to tell you, I think every board member here has tried their best, along with our controller, to try to hold down taxes the best we could in the past 10, 11 years that I've been involved. But I appreciate all your recommendations, and we will look forward to making whatever adjustments we feel would benefit all of us. We're all taxpayers here.
Good evening, Elle from Sherman and Hawthorne. So I guess I wanted to just say, as we appreciate you guys, this is not a personal attack on anyone on the board. I think we all want to work together, as many of us are coming up and saying we want to look for future solutions. On that note, kind of keeping it on what we're talking on the budget and not any personal comments about careers or anything like that. I did wanted to ask, as I emailed you, Mark, about possibly having a town community member kind of working or in collaboration, if that has ever have happened. And you mentioned that's never happened, and there's not.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, you know.
No.
Is that something?
Typically, we're the community liaisons, the board members. We're elected by you guys, and that's typically how it's happened. But yeah, there hasn't been any specific,
Okay.
aside
Yeah.
from, I guess, there's a recreation committee that meets once a month, right? There's a library committee, so there's committees that do work with us, the elected officials. But yeah, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, I think from what I'm understanding, and I know there's a certain timeline for the budget and when it needs to be presented, and I think we all sort of hear about it twice a year at the end of the year, because it's not really discussed throughout the year with the town. Even if you show up for for town meetings, that's not something that's discussed in the agenda. So it sort of comes out of like, whoa, where did this big number come from? So if there was some discussion throughout the year, I think whether, somebody from, besides emailing you guys, and you guys don't know until it gets to the end, right, what there could be in place, so there is kind of communication transparency throughout the year, so it's not at the end of the year. And then another follow-up, in terms of the 9%, do you feel like that would be enough, or do we need to go over that?
I don't think the board would like to go over 9, whatever the 9 and whatever the change is on there right now.
Is that going to be enough to, 'cause
It's enough to do what we need to do for 26. We start on the budget around August. And what we do is we collect information from each department. They have a wish list, and we cut the wish list, and we talk about what their definite needs are moving forward. What's lacking, what needs to be improved. So it's not I could never tell you at the end of August where we're at, because we wouldn't know that yet. And there's so many things that are up in the air until close to the end. Insurance, we're still waiting for a definitive number on property and casualty insurance. Healthcare, we just got last week, we just got notified. So when you're getting all these numbers late in the game, it's hard to say, we know exactly what we're gonna do. We've been shuffling around. We started at, I don't know, we were 20-something percent?
23%.
20% increase, and then we started cutting back from there. So each department was very good about it, and they made cuts to help us get to this point. And it wouldn't happen without all the efforts from all the department heads
Absolutely.
and our controller and the
Do you-
board members.
Do you feel like, based on the history of how we've been using reserves, would 9% though be good enough? Maybe do we need to go over that?
Over the years, my thinking was the fund balance was taxpayer dollars. It's all of our money that's sitting in an account. And why were we keeping all that money when the taxes are going up? Why can't we adjust the taxes a little bit? And we did that for a number of years. Granted, maybe we should have, last year, maybe we should have went over the 2% cap to avoid 9% maybe this year. I don't know. costs have been out of control, as we all know. Electrical costs, the Con Ed rates, the gas rates, everything is out of control. It's not as manageable as it used to be. I don't know how our seniors on fixed incomes manage. I really don't. So we do feel for everyone, believe me. We all have to pay our bills. And the last thing we want to do is come through with a budget that impacts people in a negative way, believe me.
Right. Yeah, I guess the follow-up is, if we're starting off at 9 and we're not sure, then next year, we don't know if it's going to go up to 23, right? There is that
I don't think there's a
possibility.
way for us to know what next year is going to bring. I'm really hopeful that the economic outlook for next year improves. I'm hoping the second or third quarter is a gangbang, buster, it really helps us.
If
That
it's-
we don't know.
If it doesn't, is there like a plan in place of what we could possibly kind of come up with in terms of the trajectory that we're seeing, that it doesn't get to like a 23% all in 1 year?
Well, we've still asked all of our department heads to watch costs moving forward
Okay.
also. So whatever savings we can find in '26 also goes towards our fund balance. We're not broke. We're not at the end of the rope here with our fund balance. We still have funding. So, but it's lower than we want to be. And we will do everything we can to start building that back up.
Okay. And do I have one more question? Time for one more question?
That's legal counsel. I have to.
Objection. In terms of income coming in, is there an idea of how much is going to be trajected for that? Based on what is in the pipeline?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's already reflected, right?
Yeah, it's
Is
in the
that
budget.
set? That's set.
It's not an exact science. They're
The revenue projections.
yeah,
Yeah.
projections.
But there is a possibility that somebody might like drop a project, right? There's no like.
Well, they're not all based on projects. A certain percentage of it is, what's the anticipation, like the Toll Brothers project, building permits and stuff like that. That project won't be taxed fully until the entire project is complete. But in the interim, you're getting building permits, infrastructure permits, which add up. And that's what helped us with Regeneron and PepsiCo, the revenue that was generated from them. Amazon, the school district got the benefit of Amazon. We got a very small piece, and the county got more than us.
Is Amazon contributing to infrastructure, like sidewalks or anything in that area?
No,
No.
they, according to planning board regulations, they were told what they needed to do as far as the road work, lighting and stuff like that down there. There was no plans for sidewalk. It's also a New York State road. It's not something we have a lot of control over. In fact, all the work that they did in the road had to be approved by New York State DOT, not Town of Mount Pleasant. I'm not thrilled, just been talking about sidewalks on 9A.
Yeah, it
I
brings
would
me
rather
concern because
people not-
workers who work at Amazon
Yeah.
go over there, and I always worry making that exit that somebody might
Amazon
get hit
been
because the bus
advised-
station is right there.
We've asked Amazon to come up with a shuttle service or something.
And did it?
Well,
Well-
that's in discussion with DOT. DOT now is speaking with Amazon and the town to have them have a solution.
Oh, okay.
It's a DOT issue, and we're notified.
Thank you.
There's
I
no
appreciate
solution yet from them.
your questions too, because that's something that we've had discussions about the percentage and where can we have it, where should it be, and I think those are things we've all taken very seriously and we continue to speak about. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, you too.
Hi, I'm a little bit sick, Anna Nelson. I wanted to start off, I know you said you didn't want to talk about your career, but I am a house principal in the City School District of New Rochelle. Last year, our school faced $20 million in cuts and we had to cut a lot of positions. It was my first year at that school. I was also put in charge of programming at the high school, having to program 3,000 kids with 24 less teachers. It was a really big challenge. That being said, I feel like, Carl, you are in a position of power, but all the members of this board are in a position of power. And so to act like we're powerless when it comes to budget cuts and like the amount of things we can do, I just don't think is realistic. Looking at what the comptroller put up there for potential savings like leaf pickup, garbage, recycling, these to me seem like really small things when I feel like the position we're in as a town, when we're talking about credit downgrades or whatever, leave us in a position where we have to start thinking about bigger things and possibly bigger cuts that are more impactful. So my first question is, with what you presented, like all of these little programs and things, what percentage of the town budget does that make up? Because to me, it doesn't seem like a large percentage, but I haven't had time to do the math on that. So cutting programs like the recycling, leaf pickup, what percentage of the town budget does that make up?
Well, I don't have specific numbers on all those. We just looked at it overall to see if there was considerable savings.
What would the savings be for cutting programs like that, if you looked at it to see that there would be savings?
I don't have those calculations.
Okay. To me, it seems like they're a small percentage of the total spending. And so looking at the bigger cost drivers, when we're talking about, long-term liabilities, debt services, looking at dipping into the reserve funds, I know that someone else here mentioned overtime. I just wanted to know whether you had considered whether more major cuts need to happen in certain areas or positions that would be more impactful on the town budget to actually bringing some of those costs down.
I don't see where any additional cuts would be manageable in town at this point.
So the only cuts you see are for programs like leaf pickup.
And I'm not in
or
favor of any,
recycling.
I'm not in favor of any of them. I tried to make that clear earlier that these are not things that I think any resident would be crazy about doing.
Yeah.
And talking with refuse contractor, there was no savings in going to 1 day a week garbage pickup. And then the recycling, there's no real savings because you take away something, you have to make it up someplace else. So.
Right. But then that goes back to my question, like as a leader and as someone in a position of power, sometimes you have to make those
Just
difficult
don't tell
decisions.
my wife about power. Or,
She probably has more power, I will give you that.
Yes.
But I just feel like you have to be the one who has to make some of these more difficult decisions, even if they're not popular. And I do applaud you for saying that, taxes would have to increase because it's honest while it's unpopular. My question is, I think that it's time, if we're in this place as a town, to look at bigger things and programs like that to see that where we can make more long-term and more sustainable cuts, because I know that you said that you hope the economy is going to get better, but we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so my thing is, I just want to say, like, if we can, to look at where more meaningful changes would make a bigger impact on the budget.
Well, basically, if you don't bring the revenue in, if there's no additional building bringing in revenue, if you can't raise taxes, you cut services. That's the only way you're going to get to balance it out. But you're talking about considerable cuts in services that most people do not want to see. And we're not, any increase is tough for anyone. Mm-hmm. But you saw what Noreen put up there about comparable areas. We are not like the highest tax town in Westchester County. We're probably one of the lowest ones. So I think over the years we've tried to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. Looking forward, we're going to look forward to where we can save more. How do we bring in additional revenue? How do we cut costs? The overtime is tough because how do you correct overtime? You add more staff to cover those hours. Mm-hmm. So each person you add is considerable amount of money.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I definitely understand that. I'm just saying that I think that something larger has to happen because to me, those programs seem like an overall small percentage. And if we keep dipping into the reserves the way we are, it's just like long-term, not sustainable. And so I'm just saying, like, I know as a leader, it's very difficult to make some of these positions. I've been in that position. Like last year at my school, losing 24 teachers, being told to make the school run with 24 less people is really difficult. It happened, so we're doing it. But and I know it's painful, but I'm just saying I feel like it's time to start looking at ways to make things work that might be more meaningful and impactful.
And some of those cuts that you saw weren't just like a thought to cut the service and it's going to be X amount of dollars.
Or like-
A lot of them are the results of other chats we've had about, okay, well, if we cut down, for example, highway staff by 3 of this position, what will happen? We'll save the salaries, we'll save the benefits. It will
then
it will
for
lead to
leaf
that. But
pickup
then what
and
does
stuff
it
like
other
that, yeah.
things that it leads to? And that's where someone may have mentioned snow removal. Nobody would ever suggest removing snow removal as it's a public safety initiative. But
Right.
if you cut staff, that the same people that pick up the leaves are the ones who plow. So now do you hire seasonal temporary staff or are you stuck with overtime? There's so many moving parts that
Yeah, no,
it wasn't
100%,
like
I
that
understand.
that the supervisor or us came up with just these, okay, leaf pickup, let's just cut that out. That was a function of, okay, reducing headcount, what will happen?
Yeah.
Just so you know that there were, I think, wider conversations around just the service,
Yeah.
just so you know. But you made a good point, so
All
thank
right,
you.
thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joanne Soul. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this evening. Just a couple of quick things. One is, I think, that has already been spoken to, which is critically important, is transparency. Transparency and full information, so as taxpayers and residents, we more clearly understand the reasoning behind the decisions that are being made. So, for example, in another town that I have lived in, after the certified financial statements for the year are prepared and reviewed by the board, they have the auditors come in to do a presentation. And it's done in a really very simple, user-friendly, resident-friendly format. And it, in a much more compact way, shares what happened the prior year and discusses the fiscal health of the village, and many times makes recommendations for going forward. So I know that you get those financial statements and that you have accountants who prepare it and probably provide you the information, but if it could be presented in a public forum in a way that is simplified for the average taxpayer, personally in that town, I found it hugely helpful.
It is here. That's done during a public work
You
session.
do it but do you do it for the you do it
Yes.
for the public?
Mhm.
It's open
In a
to the public.
simplified manner?
Yeah.
Okay?
Not us, but the auditors go through
Right,
it.
okay, so obviously I missed that, so that's great to hear.
Yeah.
The other question I have is in regard to what was prepared by the control about the sample tax rate. So it seemed to me that the villages were significantly higher in the overall percentage increase. It was like 48%, with the average or the one home that was chosen as compared to the town outside being 13%. Now, while I understand completely that the villages pay far less taxes to the town, there is also a very different level of services that are provided. So it would be really helpful in these instances to better understand why there would be such a significant increase in the estimated increase for the villages based upon the fact that the villages get far less services. And if you look at the budget itself, which I did, and I really tried to glean from, you really can't, because you've got the budget that says town outside, and then you've got the whole town, and it really does not at all provide any opportunity to understand what that means in terms of what is allocated to the villages to participate in and what is not. And I'm assuming that there is some sort of legal formula or standard that's applied in those cases. But I think it's important at this point in time for all of us to understand better what that really looks like. And as I said, it's really a matter of transparency and information and being informed so that we as a general public feel that we understand the rationale and what is exactly behind the increases that we're expected to pay. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
How are you today? My name is Remy Matrinda. I live in Warren, Thornwood. So we moved here in 2019, right before COVID. My kids love the school. The school has been part of the reason we have stayed here because they found a great opportunity to grow in. We had just moved from Elmsford. The schools there had not offered the same kind of setting. So the school for us was part of the reason we've stayed here. I plan to not move, so hopefully my kids will inherit the house eventually. But what I loved about this town was that the value that you received for your tax money for living in this town, you really got a lot of value in return for the school. And it was a small town. You don't find a lot of towns in this area where you get this small town feel. I grew up in the village of Bronxville, and there was just 1 square mile. So when I found Thornwood, it was like, well, it felt very similar to my growing up in Bronxville. Having then lived in other places here in Westchester County like Yonkers, I've never been a taxpayer in Yonkers or other cities really. This is the first home that I've owned. But I see, you know, what you guys are saying, that the amount of taxes we pay here is a lot less than what other people are paying. And then the value is a lot higher. So I look at the budget and I don't think that you guys are gonna find ways to cut things anymore without cutting the quality of life. So I'm gonna look at this, if you were my client and you were coming to me asking, how do we improve our revenue? Most of the stuff I deal with is e-commerce. Number one thing I'm gonna look at is not ways to cut, but ways to generate money. So one question that I'd like to know is, roughly how many homes are in Mount Pleasant that you guys are receiving taxpayer, money from?
I believe
I
it's,
did an average check on a ChatGPT. I don't want to bring ChatGPT into everything, but it said about 15,000.
that's close to it, yeah.
All right. So, do you think most people every year in September would be surprised if Apple released a new phone, and that phone is $1,000 or $1,200? Most people here, I'm not saying everyone has it, but a good amount of people are getting a brand new phone, and they spend $1,200 on a phone every single year. This is not for everybody, but this is a general population. I don't think it's too much to ask if we should look at ways of, instead of cutting, because this past month was crazy on the Facebook group was pretty funny. People seem to be very upset about their leaves not being picked up. I don't think it was safe that they chose not to plow the other day when it was snowing.
You don't think it was safe?
Yeah, because there was literally oil trucks driving on Warren when there was a full set of snow, and I didn't even want to get out of my car. And that truck is driving on Warren
Did you have snow in Bronxville?
Yeah, but I mean, it was plowed. They were plowing. Usually they plow in the morning. Usually I can wake up in the morning because the plows are operated.
It's
could
not,
be an
it's not
ambulance.
practical to go out when you just have a dusting like that. Doesn't
Okay,
make sense.
So I mean, maybe
The
that's
salters were out, but like
Yeah.
my road was completely black. Like it was not plowed. The salters came out, but there was really,
I have cameras on the whole house, so I can tell you there was snow on the road till like 9, 10 a.m. in the morning.
not maybe where you are.
I would
That's so
never complain.
strange.
Like, I'm not that kind of like. All I'm saying is, if you guys would take the idea, is why don't you try to do like a subscription thing? I don't want my leaf service cut. I don't want snow service cut. I don't want what's the other one?
Garbage?
Garbage or recycling or anything cut. Why don't you just offer like a subscription plan? I know everybody's gonna be, I don't wanna pay more money. I would gladly pay $10 a month, even $20 a month, if you were like, hey, this is what it's gonna cost in order to keep this program without any cuts. I just did a little bit of math. On 15,000 homes in 3 years, you can generate about $4 million. Nobody's gonna get any lower service. Maybe it'll get better service, because if you start to ask CRP to get a cut, and you just said they gave you a $200,000 better contract, guarantee you most people, they're gonna find ways, just like you said, to make it up, and you're never really gonna get a discount, because if somebody was paying me $500,000 last year and they expect to get a discount, there's just no way. The cost of everything has gone up. So, do you guys look at ways of generating money from a town perspective? Like, I mean, I'm not saying you build a little website for your town, but do you find ways? Like, is there someone on the board who's out there looking for businesses to bring into, like, I don't know, how does Amazon come into the picture here? Do they come to you, or do you go to them?
They come to us.
Carl, one issue we're hearing from the audience is that people at home are unable to hear. So maybe people could talk into the microphone.
Sure. Would you like, I'll get a little closer there. There you go. Do you have anybody on the board that tries to work with the corporate companies like Amazon to bring them in so that you're generating more commercial business here?
We have an IDA, which is the Industrial Development Agency, that tried to create incentives for businesses to come into the town. You offer sales and mortgage tax exemptions if they provide the employment and the development that they promise to develop. They get those incentives. But that's the only way. The town doesn't build anything. We don't tell people to build things. It's up to a developer to come and approach us and propose something.
I'm not saying to take this approach like Yonkers did. I really don't like the political mayor and all this stuff going on there, but do you take ideas like towns like Yonkers that are constantly looking for ways to bring in business development? Because if I remember when I first moved in to town, there was a GameStop, there was all these little stores. They recently just now got released, and now there's new businesses there. But what does the town do when you start to see all the locations, all the businesses just disappear?
We have a Chamber of Commerce that works with businesses. We're not in the free enterprise business and creating business. It's hard for us to do that. All we can try to do is improve the community to make it more welcoming to businesses. That's the only way I think we could do it.
I think one thing that you should look at is usually when you have a company, like, I'll give you an example, T-Mobile, a long time ago, about 10 years ago, when they hired that CEO, he became very popular. People, they look at a person like you to attract new businesses. You, or anybody in the board who would essentially be in that position, sometimes needs to kind of go outreach to businesses and say, look, I mean, I don't mind going to Greenwich to spend money on cars or going to Elmsford, but if we can attract, I mean, look at the Audi dealership. It's a beautiful dealership. Is there any way we can bring more businesses like that? Because somebody who's buying a car, $100,000 is paying a lot of sales tax. I would imagine that money comes to Mount Pleasant, right?
No.
Or
No,
some
it's a
portion of it?
Very tiny.
Very small.
Oh, it's crazy.
Carl, what you did do 10 years ago is keep Regeneron here. And
And
they
Pepsi.
spent about $1 billion in the town of Mount Pleasant. He also kept Pepsi here that spent about $500 million in Mount Pleasant. So he has done it for a decade. To keep it without those, those are high-paying jobs that were building permit fees for both, that saved the taxpayers for a decade a huge amount of money, because that's why the taxes for a decade were down. Right? And now, after 10 years of taxes not breaking the cap, forensic accountant can see that if you look at the old bills or the old budgets. Now, after you see the taxes for $1 million house here in Mount Pleasant versus any other town are significantly lower. So this board is saying now, hey, we've kept the taxes significantly lower. They will remain significantly lower for 2026 than the other towns. But we need to raise taxes this year to cut that gap. We don't have the money like we did in the past to keep your taxes low. Dominic Vita said, give us back last year. You remember, Dominic? Give us back our fund balance. That's why the rate went from AAA to A22, which is still high investment grade, if you want to borrow, which they're not going to borrow now. So this board has kept the taxes down for everybody here for the last decade, lower than all your neighboring communities. Your $1 million house or $750 house or $500,000 house in Mount Pleasant is significantly lower in taxes than the neighboring communities. Significant.
Darius, quick question. Is the
So he
town...
has done it, my point. Sorry, I wanted to defend you as your lawyer.
It's fine. I'm not saying he hasn't brought or kept in businesses. I've only been in this town for 6 years. I don't know.
Regeneron was going to go to New Jersey, and Carl had meetings with them
those are good.
to keep them here.
Those are good things. Those are good that we're keeping.
Created 1,000 jobs.
I'm just wondering if there's any new team that actually goes and tries to find businesses, like local anything.
Yes,
Look, I'm not
the
trying
town
to
doesn't.
bring this out there, but
the property
I wouldn't
owners do,
mind-
sir. The town, that's not really I understand like the benefit that might be, but the property owners are the ones who solicit. So Amazon didn't own that property. There's a property owner development company that goes out and finds. So every storefront you see, the people who own town center, they're a Yonkers-based family. They'll go out and find tenants when their stores are empty. As Supervisor mentioned earlier, he will perform activities and initiatives that make it beneficial, like the downtown revitalization project, for example, on Elwood. That was to drive more businesses, added parking, beautification, to bring people in.
Parking across from the train station.
Correct, yeah. So that's, now if somebody's looking for a business there, a year ago, they might say, well, where's everybody going to park? I only have 4 parking spots. Yes, the parking lot's
Drive by
empty.
it a lot, and it's pretty empty.
Well, you should know that those types of things take years to materialize, right? You're not going to get a business overnight as soon as the parking lot's finished.
Yeah.
But those are the things that we have the power to
lease
do.
that out to Metro North?
No. They
You
have
can't
a,
make any
they have a
money from that.
major parking lot
In the back.
in the back.
So we try to do what we can to create the impetus of a business to say, hey, we want to be there. But we don't go out and solicit businesses. I don't even know if we legally can do that, but
No,
you
you
know,
don't. But
we could
the
be business friendly.
Parking's a good example, because if you have a restaurant or a deli or any business across the street from there in that area, and there's no parking, people aren't going to open up a business. They're not going to rent. So the parking was the idea of Carl to say, let's build parking so people may want to open up
For the
new
nail salon?
businesses in that area, right? So they could park and then walk a half a block or a block.
Got it, for the-
Again,
for
Mark
the
said
nail
it doesn't
salons.
happen overnight. There's also the rezoning. The downtown was rezoned to
The
allow
ice cream
for-
stores, they're closed?
The ice cream store in Valhalla is very good, I hear.
That's a very good ice cream
Yeah,
store.
but-
Actually,
but
that's true.
but
But look,
they-
quick
but they
question.
do it.
Quick, is the town currently in any pending lawsuit, by the way? That would be big, like the last lawsuit that we got sued from.
Like which one?
The one where the person crashed the wall and then ended up causing a person like me, a homeowner, having to pay for the whole commercial insurance because I decided to fix my wall.
I'm sorry, I think we got.
This is a personal thing, I think, that you have.
No,
You
it's
emailed
not
me about
personal.
this.
It's not personal. I'm
You
just
emailed me about
I'm
this.
asking specifically: are there any current lawsuits that the town has that are important that we should know? Like, was that lawsuit? Is it still ongoing? The one from Sleepy Hollow?
Yes.
Yes.
That's still pending. How much do you think that is going to cost us if we have to go into litigation?
We've been litigating it for 2 years.
How much do you think it's going to cost us, Darius?
We don't know.
have
We don't
no
have
idea.
final numbers.
How much did the town auditors that you guys hired say?
I don't have that information.
They said it was around $7 million.
No. it's-
No.
No way.
No.
The town didn't. The
you
town
had an
didn't say that.
agenda Because you had a
Right.
wall on your property that you were upset about, right? I think you've had your 5 minutes and
Yeah.
then some.
No
Great.
problem.
15
Thank
minutes, yeah.
Made this.
Because
you.
he's got a problem with his wall.
Can't answer it. That's why you can't answer it.
I'm going to jump in here for just a moment. I see a lot of residents here as well as town employees.
I have the video.
In regard to development, there's a fine line because we also hear from our residents. And many people that live within the villages and the hamlets that fall within the town of Mount Pleasant have often said to us, we like everything just the way it is. It's a balancing act. How do you improve? How do you develop? But how do you keep the small town feel? We worked very hard at that, okay? And I think most of you know that. So although I understand what Mr. Miranda was alluding to in regard to development, please know that a municipal government here in the town of Mount Pleasant, we also like things the way they are. We do believe in revitalization, rehabilitation. We're striving to make walkable communities in our downtown, to bring those mom and pops back, to continue to give you that feel of your hometown. So, Mr. Miranda, I do say I appreciate all of your comments, except for probably the last few. However, it's a balance. And as we all know, it's very difficult to maintain that balance. The supervisor, my fellow colleagues here, we try. We try. We listen, as Mr. Dominic Vita can tell you, because he comes, and I will have to say to him, I compliment you, sir, because many people that show up at the last board meetings of the year don't participate as well as you do. And I do appreciate that, okay? We might disagree, but I'm glad you're here. So, with that said, let's move on. Please know that Mount Pleasant is a great place to live in, and overdevelopment is not something we ever want to anticipate. I don't want to see more car dealerships or big box stores or malls in the town of Mount Pleasant. Thank you.
Just as one more note, Dominic, I'm born and raised in town, the downtown, Elwood. Shh. Excuse me?
Just.
I'm born and raised in this town, the downtown area, Elwood Avenue, Commerce Street area. There's been no real investment in that area in over 50 years. The reason we started the downtown revitalization, which is probably a 7-year, took us over 7 years. We got state funding, we bonded some of it, the IDA contributed to it. That's the only reason we got that project started, with the hopes of businesses wanting to come there and invest, because we feel we do our part, clean up the area, maybe the businesses will do their part and invest in that area. So that's what we try to do. So, Dominic?
I won't belabor any of the points. I'm happy to be here too, Lori, and I'm happy you're here for the next month or so.
That's it.
Yep. Darius had invoked my name, so I don't know if we're using Robin's rules. I just wanted to address his points. Yes, I am happy that some of that fund balance was used to help balance the budget. What I am not in favor of, and never have been in favor of, is what we've seen as a trend over time, where we're spending beyond our means. Whether that's overtime, whether that's employee benefits, whether that's health insurance that has gone up. And by the way, that's what saved us last year and got us under the cap last year. Health insurance came lower on the premiums. It wasn't that we were planning to use that reserve balance. We were planning to use some, but not all of it. And I'm always in favor of that. However, all of the things I listed tonight, which I'll send you a follow-up email because I know Danielle's taking copious notes. Thank you, Danielle. Appreciate that. I will send you a follow-up email because I have some ideas as well that can help. But having a multi-year plan, really, guys, will help the town of Mount Pleasant into the future. It will help add transparency to what you're doing. on the daily basis. And all of the things that Mark explained and others have explained tonight that's going on will make it into that. Because I think what we need is not a reactive board, but a proactive board. We want you out in front, making sure that our town, which you all love, which we all love, and want to keep the services and want to keep the benefits of living in, that stays the way that it is. And going forward, we know that we're not going to fall off a cliff fiscally. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to address the board on the budget?
Hello, my name is, for the record, is Roswell Easton King III. I would prefer if you just call me Rick King.
Rick King?
Yeah. This is more like the 80-20 rule, maybe 90-10. 90%, I'm very happy living in Mount Pleasant. I've lived here since 1984. I feel very fortunate that we've lived in this town. I have nothing but good things to say about our life here in Mount Pleasant. I've seen you at the pool. Thank you for keeping the pool going. And the other things that you have going on in the town. Daniel, we talked about the military banner program. I have a lot of good things to say about the town of Mount Pleasant. The only reason I came tonight, first of all, is I read all the materials, and then I didn't fully understand them, but I guess I could look at them a little bit more carefully. I also wanted to listen to what other people had to say and listen to your response before I thought about standing up here and speaking on behalf of myself and my wife. And so now I'm at the point where it's a very simple request. 9% is kind of a surprising jump. Our cost of living, since we're on fixed income now, since 2020 when I retired from my corporate job down in Terrytown, working for BSF as a research and development scientist. I had budgets for 20 years as a manager for the site, for the group that I ran, and for the projects. And so I fundamentally understand when there's budget shortcomings and what some of the drivers that are in there. I noticed in the presentation that it's the health care cost and retirement cost. We saw the same things in our corporate life as well. And it's like you want to control them, but how do you control them? So I see what's happening. All I would ask is rather than a lump sum jump without a predictable future, I would ask that rather than bump it up to 9%, if you could just go somewhere between the recent COLA, which is about 3% on Social Security, and the 9%, if you could take a jump that's maybe halfway and see what the impact is. In the meantime, maybe some of the neighborhood projects where, I don't know if you'll be generating revenue by this time next year from the development projects that are going on, I guess, over that direction. I mean, I'm hoping those development programs will generate some nice revenue. I would just ask, rather than that 9% jump, if you could just hold it back a little bit so it's not such a hit for people that are on fixed income. And that's about it. I'd close with thanking you for your service. I know it's not an easy job. And that's about it. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thanks for coming out.
Sorry. my wife's not watching on TV, but Briarcliff and Ossining and a lot of different communities have pickleball courts, and she's an avid pickleball fan. And I know that the town has tried to find different ways, and I know they put the pickleball courts in the town pool, but I don't think it's really open, other than when the pool's open. But that might be, it's a modest revenue generator, but I bet you $1, looking at how big Mount Pleasant is, I know that's at least, I know that she would sign up. Right? And a lot of her friends that live in the town of Mount Pleasant.
They're very dangerous.
What, pickleball?
Yeah. Orthopedics
The
on them.
insurance program, yeah. Anyway, if I didn't say that, I need to be able to go home and say, did you ask for the pickleball courts? And it's like, yes, dear. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've heard many times about the pickleball courts, and we've tried. We tried down at Broadway Field, correct? The one at the pool. The issue with the pool, and many people don't realize that, is Westchester County Department of Health, like many other departments of health, they have strict regulations. If there's bodies of water, the facility can only be open when it's staffed. Yes, yes. So since we have multiple pools there, and then the pickleball courts are part of the basketball court on the same campus, we can't keep the pickleball courts open, or the basketball courts open at other times of the year, or the times that don't coordinate with the pool being open when it's fully staffed. That's the reason.
Yeah, I guess because there's not an access from that direction, because I know there's a fence that separates the pickleball court.
Yes,
There would have to be access from the other.
not only that, but there'd have to be a guarantee that no one could get to any of the water, any of the pools, and no one can guarantee that unless you have a full staff there, or security at night, which we have in the summer, but not during the rest of the year. So it's been talked about. Danielle's the recreation department liaison. I've done it before, and we've talked about it, as they say, ad infinitum, a lot, because everyone has asked.
Okay.
It's high on the list. We want it.
Okay.
Okay?
We're working on it.
She and
Working.
I already work together nicely on the military.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, I'm just a subscriber, I didn't know, but I appreciate the work that you did.
Thank you.
And so if there's something, now that I'm retired, maybe if there's something that I can do to help.
You know what?
Thank you. I
That's
appreciate that.
very good suggestion, sir, because you can join or develop the Friends of the Mount Pleasant Recreation Department, and they can do some fundraising, and we can get pickleball courts.
I'll bring that home.
Very good. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make a comment on the budget? As you know, we're carrying on this budget hearing to next Tuesday?
Yeah, the 16th, is it?
Do you want to keep the hearing open?
Keep it open, yes.
Yeah. You need a
So
motion?
there'll be a special
We'll
meeting.
take a motion to keep the budget hearing open.
I'd like to make a motion, keep the budget hearing open for the budget.
Motion by Tom,
Second?
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
That'll
Any
be for
opposed?
December 16th?
Yes, sir, it is.
So we'll have to have a
7
special,
p.m.
we'll have to have a special meeting,
Yeah, that's right before
work session.
the work session.
Is it?
So
Yeah,
at
we have that
7.
on our-
It's
on our
at 6
scheduled
p.m.
meetings. We're
Is
gonna
it 6 or
authorize.
7?
What is that? That's the public hearing, too?
Well, yeah, we're going to keep the
Oh, 7, okay.
we're going to keep the public hearing open until 7 p.m. on December 16th, and then close it that we have to adopt the budget by the 20th. So that'll be the last meeting you can do it. People want to write in. I think comments could be written in before then. You may take public comment that day too, and then you'll have to adopt the budget probably on that day.
Yeah.
This says 7.
It's
So
7.
It's
7
7?
o'clock,
It's
okay.
7.
And then
Alright,
work
great.
session after.
Yeah.
After that meeting, we'll have yours.
This is a continued public hearing to consider a local law allowing or authorizing the town to override the limit of the real property taxes that may be levied by the town for the 26 fiscal year.
Move for approval?
Motion by Mark,
I'll second.
second by Lori. All in favor?
What are we
Aye.
doing? Continuing
Wait,
the public
we're-
hearing
we're
too?
continuing
to
it?
the 16th? So that's a separate public hearing for tonight. It's all been addressed, I guess, in this public hearing. So you want to continue that to the 16th also at 7 p.m.?
I guess we can continue, yeah.
Yeah, then there'll be a
This
resolution.
motion will be to continue to next meeting.
Yeah, continue it, I think, together
Mark-
with the other.
Is this waiving the vote to override?
No. Is it
No.
waiving? What do you mean?
I didn't quite hear what.
I'll repeat, make it clear, because I misread it. We're continuing the public hearing to consider a local law to authorize overriding the tax cap. So motion by Mark, second by Lori,
Yes.
to continue the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the supervisor's report. To call for a public hearing to consider the amendment of the town zoning map to adjust R20 zoning district to cover all of the properties fronting along Greenwood Lane in Valhalla. Do you want to give a little brief?
Yeah, so I think when there was the as part of one of the new maps that were done, there was a mistake done by the surveyor and the map company that had certain properties that are less than the R40
R40.
zone that are really should be in the R20 zone. And we've sort of thought of this on the planning side and from the board side to maybe they should all be R20 on that side of the street, similar to the other side of the street. So we'll have a map up online so everyone can look at it. We'll put notice to all the property owners that we're considering this. There's no decision being made. There's no one looking to change anything improperly. But we want to hear from maybe the people that live there that we think this maybe is better as an R20 zone. And we'll have all that information online, and we'll send out certified mailings to everyone so they get them. We'll put signs up so people know about it. So you may get a lot of calls, Carl. But it's something you just want to hear from people if they have an issue. But we thought it was a good planning tool to rezone those properties to the R20.
It's basically correcting something.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we can do that at the next meeting? Do you want to do
Yeah,
it?
we're
on the-
calling for a public hearing on,
You want to do it in
20
January? You want to do
20
it the 23rd?
Maybe we should do it in January, no? The day before Christmas Eve? I think we should do January.
what's a good date then? January 13th?
We can get all the notices out by then too.
Yeah.
So people don't say you're doing this right before Christmas, which we don't want to do.
So the public hearing will be for January 13th. Resolution 44925 will establish that date for the public hearing.
I'll move for approval, please.
Motion by Danielle,
I'll second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Right.
Motion carries.
December 23rd.
Next item is authorization to enter into an agreement with the City of New York and the Legion of Christ Incorporated concerning property along Westlake Drive.
Mr. Supervisor, at this time, I'd like to request an executive session for continued discussion prior to a vote.
Do you want to do that now, or do you want to do that?
Let's do it.
After the
Let's do it
agenda.
now.
We can do it at the end,
Whatever you like.
so people don't have to sit around and wait.
I'm deferring to the supervisor and my colleagues. Should we do executive session now for number 2 under the supervisor's report?
My vote is to wait until the end.
Wait
after
until the end of the
agenda.
meeting?
I'd like to do it now.
Tom would like to have the executive session now. I would like to have the executive session now. Mark?
Okay.
I guess we could do it now.
Okay.
Okay, that's a vote.
There's not much more,
Want to do business on the floor? The audience might have some comments on other things potentially. Yeah. Wanna do
yeah,
that?
we can move ahead to business on the floor, I guess.
Okay,
And
all
then
right.
get
And
to
then,
that.
and then I'll keep my request to go into executive session for item number 2. Thank you.
Wait, you have the investment report and receiver of taxes?
Yeah, we got to make sure we.
Do those first,
Yes.
and then business from the floor?
You have to wait, wait for a minute though. The supervisor has 2 other items to do.
They're very quick. Good night, thank you.
Good night, thanks for coming out.
Investment report.
It's frozen. Can't open it.
I have it if you need it.
He has it.
You have it?
The investment report, 3.56%.
Okay.
And receiver of taxes report I have on file.
Okay, I found this on the web.
Now the technology works.
Talking
Okay.
about IA, eh?
All right.
Oh, my goodness.
Shut up.
What?
Okay.
All right, then we'll do business and more, then we'll go to your report. Let this stop.
My name is Wendy Masterman. I do not live in this town. I live in the town of Ossining. I'm at 10 Morningside Court. And I'm speaking about the development at 715 Sleepy Hollow Road, which, as a resident of Westchester County, I'm very concerned about because of its effect on Pecantico Lake. I have been at almost every planning board meeting that has been around this. And I should tell you that I live in Ossining and had similar situations behind my home that was wetlands and steep slopes, and it was the same builder that is building this property. And it took us about 3 years before our planning board asked for a supplemental DEIS, which was going to require them to do so much work. I believe they've dropped it because we haven't heard anything in the last several years. I was one of the first speakers at the planning board meeting about this subdivision. And before I went and spoke, I gave the DEIS to an independent engineer for review. And these were his concerns. Stormwater. He provided, the engineer provided a detailed, this is the Zappaco engineer, provided a detailed hydrological study of the impact of the subdivision. The study is very detailed. The engineer is proposing an underground infiltration pipe system to manage and mitigate stormwater runoff created by the construction of new impervious surfaces. The system is very similar to a septic system, where rainwater will be allowed to percolate into the soil. Now, in this DEIS, they assumed, and they wrote that, assumed, a percolation rate of 5 inches of water per hour, or 1 inch every 12 minutes. The engineer said this soil must be tested in the field to confirm it can absorb at that rate. And he said that there were several different kinds of, I'm not going to read it all, several different kinds of tests that needed to be done. The stormwater system must provide access for routine maintenance to keep leaves, sand, dirt, and other debris out of the structure. The soils. A description of the soils is provided in the custom soil resource report of the DEIS. The soils are described as very rocky or very stony. It is likely there is shallow bedrock in a number of locations. Bedrock would be a restrictive layer that would impact the stormwater system. Potable water. The property is served by public water. It is unknown if existing water piping is adequate to provide volume of water required for the residents as well as fire protection for the subdivision. If the subdivision is approved, it is important to ensure the piping has adequate soil cover. Test pits or boring at the center line of the proposed roads are necessary to ensure that the proposed water piping will have frost protection. Sanitary sewer. It is proposed that the subdivision will be serviced by public sanitary sewer. It is unknown how the sanitary sewer force main will be routed. Other considerations for the sewer will be estimating the slope and the grade of the sewer in order to determine if lift stations or siphon chambers will have to be provided. Also, the downstream capacity of the existing sewer system will have to be examined to determine bottlenecks that exist and that would cause backups. I gave this to the planning board at the very beginning. We have no idea if any of these areas have been addressed. They are now ready for a final, not a supplementary. And we are very concerned that these have not been addressed and that this will be approved and we will have major problems. So I hope that you will encourage the planning board to go back and get a supplementary DEIS in the same way that Ossining did for us, which stopped the process.
Thank you.
All those questions are answered in the FEIS too. They have to be.
We have not been given any.
It's not done yet. The FEIS is being prepared by the, it's,
No, the FEIS was put in for approval, so it's finished.
it wasn't approved. No, it's not. The last meeting was before the planning board, and the planning board was not ready to approve the FEIS.
But there is an FEIS in place.
There's a draft.
Then we
Draft
should
FEIS.
Then we should see that draft.
Well, that's a question.
That's
There's a
what we
FOIL
want.
request out
We
there
wanna
and a
see the
decision
draft
to be made.
Ensure that everything, all those tests were done, and everything is.
The FEIS is a final environmental impact statement, which will, it has to answer those questions. Has to. That's the process.
I know it does, but they're not giving us access to it.
It's not done.
To see.
I don't want to, we're still preparing it.
Hi, I'm Charlie Sanders. I live on Kings Grant Way. Pardon my voice. I'm an attorney, but I am not here as an attorney. I am not a real estate person. So I want to talk about common sense in regard to the last person who spoke. This project is very, very concerning to a lot of people throughout Westchester County. We talked about budgetary issues. As a matter of common sense, it would be best if we approach this as a community to come up with a non-litigation plan to figure out how we're going and how we're going to deal with this with the property owner and with the community that's very concerned about conservation. It behooves, I think, all of us to say, let's take the time, instead of going to a final DEIS, a final environmental impact statement, to stay with the DEIS. I myself submitted 100 pages on this 2.5 years ago. It is a great deal of information to absorb and to try to analyze in a very short 30-day period. The First Amendment guarantees us a right to petition the government for redress of grievances. It's a good idea. Madison knew it, Jefferson knew it, we know it. Let's not rush into something that is going to force the local community to litigate this, because we don't want to litigate this. And I'm certain that Zappi doesn't want to litigate it. But certainly the taxpayers don't want to litigate it. Let's go slowly and be meticulous about how we analyze what's best for the community. There's no reason to rush into anything. This thing is dragged on now for 3 years, and taking the time to do it right seems to make sense. So I'm just here not to discuss anything else but common sense. It seems to dictate that we do the DEIS and give the public enough time to absorb new information. There's been a certain amount of obfuscation that we don't have to get into right now, but it's going to take very careful study, and 30 days just isn't enough. So that's my only message to you. It makes sense not to litigate this, and the money and the energy exists on the side of people who are concerned about the lake to take whatever steps that are necessary to make sure that we don't move ahead with something that really hurts the community. So, enough said. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, in the 3-year period, do you think this has been rushed?
Well, it's a matter of access and then a period of comment. So it's dragged on for 3 years because we've been waiting for the information. If we had the information, we would have spent the last 3 years studying.
So the information, the problem is the lack of information.
Exactly. The transparency would be great, but enough time to analyze the material that we get through transparency to provide you with cogent arguments in favor or against of doing certain things and dealing with certain details.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
My name's Howard Fleischer, and I'm here to address the same development and developer. And I just want to read something that talks about transparency. There's a quote that says, "Daylight is the greatest disinfectant." A famous quote by U.S. Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis means that transparency and public scrutiny are the best ways to expose and correct wrongdoing, corruption, or harmful behavior. Much like sunlight kills germs, while often used metaphorically for governance and finance, it also reflects the scientific reality that sunlight, UV light, does help kill bacteria, making it a literal disinfectant for surfaces and clothes, as confirmed by studies, etc. In that spirit, I've been following this development and the planning of this development for quite some time. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I was asking her if she needed water.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. And much like what happened before, from the very beginning, there's been FOIL requests for information so that the public can provide input. And there's been quite a few people that have provided a lot of information from the public and from experts. But when there is a document, the DEIS, and the whole discussion around a supplemental DEIS, there's been somewhat of a block on providing those documents or that information to the public. So it was proposed during the last meeting, and it was wrongfully posted that the FEIS was going to be approved that night, which was retracted, but it was a public statement on a public site, which caused a lot of concern because exposure to the truth is, and to facts is really what's going to, make the difference here. And you can't undo things to nature once you take the trees away, once you provide the possibility of pesticides going into a lake that is enjoyed by not just the local residents, but by the county residents, by the state residents. I know that the Westchester supervisor and that assembly people are interested in what goes on pertaining to this situation. And what I don't understand is why the planning board and the applicant are not willing to provide the FEIS before it's considered complete. We're told first we need to say it's complete, and then there's a 30-day period where the public can comment. So to me, that is not logical. Wouldn't you want to know and have as much information as the public stewards of this land, the decision makers of what's going to impact not just your community, but many communities around this area, and many people throughout the state and who have access to this property. And it's you guys have such a great, wonderful place that is enjoyed and that could be easily destroyed and affected by the decisions that are made. So, I'm here to make the point that, it's almost like I'm talking to a parent that says, no, I'm going to do it my way, whether it's illogical or not. This is how it's going to be done, and you have to take it. And that's not the right way to treat your citizens and the taxpayers. And to the point of the taxpayers, there's definitely going to be a lot more expense that's going to be realized on the part of your town and your government when the decision is made to accept the document as final and complete, which already has been proven from previous applications where this applicant has provided incomplete answers, erroneous answers, not forged, but plagiarized answers on these applications. It's obviously something that hasn't been taken very seriously, and the original DEIS was accepted as complete, given the same obfuscation of information. So, I think that we're all, in this for the benefit of the community and for the benefit of all. And, you know, we've made the point to the planning board, which seems to just say, thank you for your comment. We're still going to do a final FEIS. You have 30 days to come back, and the public will have input. To me, with all due respect, this is, you know, I don't want to use the word, but something backwards. And to do it ass backwards, pardon my, with all due respect, that's not what I think is good governance. And really, there is something that was submitted as a FOIL. Your council has already mentioned that, and the document was provided today. And if you allow me just a little bit more time to read this.
Did you submit any of this to the planning board?
I did not, no. This was submitted by the law firm Civ Padgett Reisel and by Adam Solero. So you have the document in your possession, and just for public.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay, it was used. And so, since it's a public forum and it's being provided under Zoom, I think that the greater community should be aware of what's happening here, because not everybody follows what goes on in the planning community, in the planning board. And sometimes it's too late. And once the go is given, then it's all about trying to, you know, mitigate the problem. So I'm not going to go into the full detail, but this is a request for the final environmental impact statement for the proposed Meadows at Briarcliff subdivision. The draft, as we've just heard, FEIS is readily available. It's critically important to public participation in the planning board's review process. It does not fall within any FOIL exemption. The planning board's failure to release the document is a violation of FOIL and Section 103 of the Open Meetings Law, which requires that documents scheduled to be the subject of discussion by a public body during an open meeting shall be made available upon request, therefore to the extent practicable at least 24 hours prior to the meeting during which the records will be discussed. It says here that, I'm not going to go into the documents that were attached here too, but
you say we have these? We have these.
You have this specific letter, and you have the draft of the FOIL, of the FEIS, the draft before a decision's made. Why can't that be shared for input from the public? I don't understand.
We'll find out if that's proper process.
Just my last few comments on this, and I promise I'll keep it quick. It says the planning board did not take a vote on the draft FEIS at the December 4th meeting, and the draft FEIS has not been released to me or publicly posted. The planning board has no basis for withholding the draft FEIS under FOIL. The FEIS, as a critical document in the secret process, is precisely the type of record that must be made available to the public upon request and prior to any official action by the board. I will close with that. Daylight is the greatest
Thank you.
disinfectant. Thank you.
I have a question. This has been going on for, I think, 3 years. I am not directly involved with the planning board process, nor is anyone on this board. But I am curious, because I've heard so much about this, is any development there possible?
Oh yeah, I don't think it's a question of
I don't
stopping
know
a
if there's
development.
has there been like suggestions for
Less
certain amount of
houses,
homes?
for different ways of doing it? Absolutely. And, you know, I will tell you that this is not the first FOIL request that has been made relating to this project. It's been sequentially declined, denied. It was requested, and I believe
That FOIL wasn't denied to my knowledge. We didn't respond
The
yet.
response is not due to Friday. What's the date of it?
this one is dated December 9th. The prior one was dated.
January, that's not due, so.
This one is December 9th of this year.
There's been documents. Mr. Sultro has foiled the town for the last 3 years.
Right.
And we have produced, I would guess, thousands of documents.
On the initial request, it's been denied.
I don't know what request you're talking about.
If you want, it's in the paperwork that you received. It has the record of correspondence between the two people, and I can tell you that.
Can we see that?
Yes. It has my notes, if you don't mind. I don't mind.
Do you have, or do you have?
The FOIL is under consideration. It's being looked at by us,
Oh, you
the
wanna hear the
planning
response?
department, and we'll respond timely, as every other town, village, county, state does.
To my knowledge, we didn't respond to that one yet.
Not to the most recent one.
Right.
I didn't see December 9th. I saw one a few days ago.
The letter came today.
December 5th or something?
December 9th
Today,
is
yeah.
today, so you
Yeah.
might not have seen it yet.
I saw the letter. Oh, I did see the December 9th letter. I think there was one from December 6th. It was this week.
It was recent.
Or Friday? Maybe Friday?
This was
The online, I think, was
there was
Friday.
there was one that was on December 3rd,
That was
which
Friday.
was just before the meeting on the 4th, and that still has not been provided. The
I foiled the state, so you know, 6 months ago on something, and they told me maybe in January I'll get something.
True,
But
but-
we don't do that. We respond right away, whether we agree or disagree. We can agree to disagree, but we'll respond in accordance with the law. And we can't just jump and say we're going to give you something. We got to look at it closely. I've been working with the town planner. I've been working with
With all
the
due
planning board
respect, sir.
secretary. I've been working with the town clerk, and we will get a response to Mrs. Sultro.
with all due respect, if the document
Why would it have to be respect? I don't need to respect. Just say what you got to say.
Well, I'm speaking with respect. Just
I assume you
This
would, no matter what.
request was only submitted on December 3rd.
I'm
as
not
a
wrong
separate
about
letter.
that. Law, if you think I'm wrong, you're entitled to that opinion.
No, I'm not
About
saying, I'm
responding.
not saying that you're wrong, but I'm saying that this is not the first FOIL request, that this is the third FOIL request, and that the first two,
There's probably 15 from Mrs. Sultro
Well,
over the last 3 years. And
relative
have
to
been
this,
responded to.
All right, let's move on.
it's in the
Most of this is-
documentation.
okay.
If you want to see it, I can bring it up to you where it was denied, okay, initially. And, you know, that's.
I think a
that.
letter usually goes out and says your FOIL is under consideration, and then you have 30 days to respond under the law. That's our normal practice for every FOIL, which we get multiple FOILs a week,
Okay.
and we always do it that way. No different in this case.
It says here that, as the planning board secretary noted in her email denying my FOIL request, the planning board already has a web page dedicated to this project with a section titled FEIS Documents, where the FEIS can readily be posted. The planning board's failure to provide a copy of the draft FEIS at least 24 hours prior to its meeting was a separate violation of the open meetings law, and each day that the FEIS is not released compounds the damage to public participation in the secret review process.
I understand your lawyer's.
No, it's not my lawyer.
Who is it?
This is a document that.
ChatGPT?
No, you know what? I don't take that as being respectful.
Why not?
Thank you, because ChatGPT is not a lawyer, and I'm
Right.
speaking
Not
here as
exactly.
I'm
Thank you for
speaking here as a public person, not as a lawyer.
FOIL is being considered by the town.
Under the rules, we.
There's two
Please,
issues.
As you can see,
You want the document posted before it's considered. Planning board on December 4th said, we're not ready to adopt this document. It's an intra-agency opinion from the town planner, which is an exception to the FOIL. Your lawyer doesn't want to look at that, I get that. Let us respond to his 5-page letter, which we will,
Okay, and can I just
which was
ask you-
submitted today.
Can I ask you point blank, will we receive the FEIS before it is decided as?
Not my
final and
determination.
complete?
Ultimately, the determination will be made at the clerk level,
So this is where I.
and then it
leave
goes
to
to
you.
the supervisor if you don't agree with it.
Okay.
It's not my
Well,
decision.
thank you for giving me the attention, and
I'm not the FOIL officer.
I do have a comment, because something's been bothering me about this project for a long time. I received the comment that the lake that we're talking about, the beautiful lake that's there, is polluted. They found different levels of pollutants in there,
Kind of bacteria.
bacterias.
Yes, but if you go to the, I think, Riverkeeper site, because I was curious about that as well, it's a minor amount, and it also affects many, many
My concern, only because I was in the business years ago, is it contributed to by the existing septic systems that are around the lake?
They don't say, actually. I don't recall that there was a source identified. I'm just going by Riverkeeper where they do multiple testing, for the community.
I'm just curious, and maybe someday I'll find out.
I can answer.
Just come on up here, please.
I just, again, I really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all and have you now understand this section of what we're dealing with.
You're
This lake was actually supposed to be a water source for
I
New York
remember, yeah.
State.
It was a New Rochelle water. Yep.
And we would love that to stay. And there's also a flightway going into, for birds flying into Rockefeller Park. You know, this is really intricately connected.
I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, the lake is still designated as a backup water source in the event of emergency. But Ossining has a real problem with its sewer system in that every time there's a significant rain, their system cannot handle it, and raw sewage spills over into all of the tributaries that come out of the Hudson, or go into the Hudson, I should say. So you have leaching going on, you have runoff, but the lake has maintained itself and the wildlife around it extraordinarily well under the circumstances. And someday, hopefully, this will be a much cleaner environment. But if you don't mind, I'm going to respond to one question that you had thrown out rhetorically, which was, is there a way out of this and a solution? Absolutely. I mean, this is not really unreasonable people screaming at each other. This is, okay, you have a property owner wants to profitably use his or her land, and we have people who are concerned about maintaining the integrity of the environment.
Understandable.
So everybody is willing to sit down at the table, certainly, on the conservation side.
Sure.
And if you could facilitate that as a board, I don't know whether you feel that that's outside the scope of your authority.
It technically is, but we could give a hint.
You know, again, we're all members of the same community. We all want to come up with a solution that's going to work for everybody and walk away from this feeling good about it. So any help that you can give us in that regard would be warmly embraced.
Understood. Thank you.
In the past, there's been some attempts that haven't. I understood that you didn't want to talk, but if you want to talk, and if the developer wants it, Mr. Saltro, is he your attorney, Mr. Saltro?
No. He's not mine. I'm here as a private citizen.
Well, if Mr. Saltro wants to talk, he knows my number, and I can then talk to their attorney for the developer, and we can all sit down.
The public.
Well, the attorney
How do you
sent the
how do you
notice.
negotiate with the planning board in public?
Why are you taking such aggressive?
I'm not. No, I'm saying I'll sit down with them.
Yeah,
I'll sit down with Mr. Saltro. I know him.
Great.
I'd be glad
If I
to.
can facilitate it, I will. I know.
But the attorney sent the letter in.
If Mr. Saltro wants to talk to me,
He's involved,
and
no?
I'll get Mr. Weckstein involved, who's
Okay.
the attorney for the Zappies. They'll sit down, and I'll be there and represent the planning board.
But, you know, we need the
Call me.
time to do that. Not after decisions made.
But the FEIS, people got to understand, that's not the project being approved. The word final environmental impact statement is not an approval. It's not over. That is when, in the DEIS process, at the public hearings, people comment, like the lady did earlier. All those questions are answered in the FEIS. It's not done, project over.
Right, but
Then there's another step.
But completely answered with one word, or answered with a...
It has to be responded, it's the planning board's document. They'll be once they are comfortable with their wording, it'll be out in the public, and then the public can comment. Then there's another step. It's called the finding statement. And the finding statement analyzes all the issues that are happening. She mentioned something about the freeze of the sewage line. That has to be addressed. All those issues have to be addressed where the environmental impacts are sufficiently mitigated according to the lead agency, the planning board. Then
The
it has
Board
site
of
plans.
The Board of Health would have to approve the sewer system.
Board of Health has to approve
If
it.
that doesn't reach their approval, it doesn't happen.
Yeah. The FEIS is, the word final is in it, but that's not the end of the road.
I just want to say, the first application was accepted as complete with all the errors.
The
omissions.
DEIS, you're saying?
The DEIS.
So the DEIS is a document that's prepared by the applicant under the secret regulations, and the planning board only accepts the completeness of it, not the substance of it. Just that each issue is addressed. Number one, traffic is addressed. Do we think it was properly addressed? That's what you address in the FEIS and in the findings. So there's a whole process. There's a body of case law related to secret that goes back since 1986 when it was passed. There's thousands and thousands and thousands of common law about this. So, but there's a process. They're in the second stage of the process after the DIS to accept the FEIS. They do the FEIS, the public comments, then the findings occurs.
Public comments only 30 days based on thousands of documents.
That's probably the law.
They will likely give more time for comments. There's a statute, there's a regulation that gives the time.
Just provide it and give
But
it
the
to
problem
them.
with a draft that's not being approved, right? A draft that's not final according to the planning board, that they don't like,
It will be
right?
voted on.
That they don't like, right? And there's a comment, it says, you don't need to do the sewer down where the health department approves it. But that's not what they're gonna change it. They're gonna so if it says something they don't agree with, they're gonna change it in the final FEIS to meet the law. That's why they work with Pat Cleary. So you guys are saying, we want that draft that hasn't been vetted by the planning board yet, that may change, and then it
The draft is
confuses
gonna
everything.
Come up for a vote the next day. That's what we want. We want the
But
draft.
they didn't
that-
vote.
It was going to be voted on.
It was going to, but it wasn't.
Right, but at that time, you had something that was going to be voted on, which was going to be voted to be complete, okay, which is what was already published as going to be complete. That should have been provided.
There's
to the
semesters,
voters.
there's
Wouldn't that make
semesters
sense?
of
We're not
law
talking
school
semantics.
classes that go over this. Semesters.
You know what, I might.
Yeah, you may. It's interesting.
I'm a total
But if you guys
scientist.
wanna talk, I'd be glad to talk.
That's the best thing, you know?
Okay.
I
Okay.
really appreciate that, again.
Thank you.
sorry
Have a
for-
good evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just say, the
Or-
draft DEIS,
DEIS.
FEIS, I could give to the same engineer who did that evaluation, and he can tell me if all of his concerns are addressed. If I never see that draft, he can never see that.
You will see the FEIS. You will. Public.
Hi, how are you?
Good evening.
Great.
I know your last name, I don't remember.
Yes,
your
hi,
first.
Nancy Gallaudet. Nice to see you guys again. And my prepared comments echo, they aren't repetitive, but they're kind of the same thing. And so I'll just go ahead and read them. And I thank you for accelerating the, business on the floor so we could do this. Now you see why. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. So I'm here about the agenda item that was on the December 4th Planning Board meeting to accept the FEIS for the proposed development at 715 Sleepy Hollow Road. And you are now well aware that the agenda item was canceled, I don't know if that's the formal word, and moved into the new year. And why? So just a little nuance here, because it was skipped, if you will, or moved formally because the developers overstepped their role. They usurped both the planning board's authority and falsified the status of the project to the DEC. And the actions by the developer aren't quite a surprise because this type of behavior has been consistent throughout, well, really reading the DEIS in particular. And I'll give you some examples. So we intended the meeting for this different supplies because we were surprised that the planning board was voting on, accepting the final environmental impact statement. So during the public hearings on the draft EIS, there was almost a unanimous call for this supplemental DEIS. And why was that? That was our request to the planning board for the next step. And why was that? There was a significant amount of deliberate omissions, such as percolation testing, which she mentioned in the back, site view testing, accurate traffic impact, and lack of assessment of downstream impacts. There were fantastical plans in this DEIS, including something called a massive retaining wall that's going to be perched on the steep slopes overlooking the lake and the park. How these things could have been accepted as a full DEIS was a little bit unfathomable, but here we are. There was plagiarism, quite a bit of it. Major gaps from noted environmental groups such as Riverkeeper, the Westchester Land Trust, who cited potential irreversible impacts and proven unworkable plans. A 31 home count, this is to your question, Carl, that was incorrectly established based on New York State town law and the Mount Pleasant Town Code that references that same New York State law. And when applied, could potentially reduce the number of homes from 4 to 6. And there were cries throughout the comments throughout the public hearings, which quite frankly, the board was quite generous with the number of public hearings, and we appreciated that. But many, many times, consider the reduction of homes, a normal reduction of homes on a R40 zone plan for us to consider. And that was a specific request of mine formally, and I know others did it, to say we want to see plans at different housing count levels to see where this stops to make sense and does come up with this kind of compromise position between the property owner's rights and Lori, I can call you Lori, I hope. I loved your comment about we want to preserve what's home to us. Just as you want to do that in your towns here, which I completely understand. I'm here much more than I was, and I think they're charming, and I think you're going to make them better. But we deserve the same respect, quite frankly, for what we have in our area that we love just as much, and are part of our lives. So the list of substantive input on the original DEIS, it really goes on and on. There are over 1,000 pages of comments. And this is from residents, people who enjoy the park. It's not just about tree huggers and walking. And experts, significant amount of experts. I scrolled through the correspondence, because you have built such a great website for these things now. It was astonishing. It's astonishing. So, and importantly, the first draft was so riddled with gaps that there was a cause to a unanimous call, really, for the planning board to instruct the developers to go back to the drawing board and submit a supplemental DEIS, which I don't know if the language is right, but that's what everyone asked for. And I quote from the last public hearing on May 4th, 2023, the public hearing page 51, where Chairman Collins also supported the supplemental DEIS. In fact, he said, I think a supplemental DEIS is also a good idea. So it wasn't just, us in the crowd, and, I don't know how many other board members approved. I'll be very quick. An FEIS is not prudent given the developers' arrogant approach to the original DEIS and their most recent attempt to preempt the planning board authority and declare the project approved to the DEC. It only reminds us of their disregard for the process and transparency. That's how we're feeling over here. That's what you heard from the gentleman saying, listen, we've felt this for 3.5 years. We don't know what they've been doing for 3.5 years, Carl. I don't know. But I think most of us lean towards a side that says they didn't do the proper work for the first one. Let's be highly suspicious that they've done it for the second one, if you will. That's what's happening to us. So that's why the supplemental, which is something that's done, was requested. So it's what the town residents and neighborhood communities deserve. Time. We don't have time if the final is done, the final EIS, because there's a 30-day window. We didn't take 3.5 years to do the reviews, but we got adequate time. This is not adequate time, given 1,000 pages, given the errors and omissions and obfuscations that we saw. We would want more time. So we want a well thought out plan. We want a plan that, to your point, can't say your last name, Chapsky, that actually has responded to, again, what
Just looking at AI for answers.
I'm looking at AI. Oh no. We deserve the time to look through this thing thoroughly, as we did before. Hopefully all the answers are there, and it'll be a quick review. That would be fantastic. Everybody wins, right? But because of the plan, the size of the plan anticipated, which is going to be large, we deserve it the time that I just said, and we're confident that it's probably incomplete. 30 days is not sufficient to do that. So for all these reasons, we strongly urge the town board to, I don't know if it's direct, so I'm not sure you can do that, but speak to the planning board to request a supplemental DEIS so the community and all others affected by what the possible implications of this could be have a chance to review it as well. And the planning board can only benefit from that also. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one more thing I gotta raise because it does have wrinkles, and that has to do with, there's a new comprehensive plan.
That other people haven't been heard from yet.
Sorry.
We're gonna change the subject.
Thank
Okay,
you.
Pat.
Pat Scova, Hawthorne, New York, 59 years on Belmont Road. Mount Pleasant now has road gate. It's at Stevens Avenue and Belmont Road. Now, I'm assuming something, which I shouldn't, but I assume that the board or the supervisor was not aware that the roads were opened last Tuesday. Were any of you aware of that?
I was not.
Silence is deafening.
I was not, can I talk?
Sure.
I was spoken to that they needed to open the barriers to be able to handle snow removal. That's all I was told. I did not know, and the chief and I went down there to find out what was going on and found out that the barricades were totally removed from the property, which is not what we wanted.
They weren't removed last winter.
Can I, just let me finish. We wanted them put back after snow removal. Being that I don't even know where they went, I asked Traffic and Safety to put up removable barricades there for temporary use so that it's easier for highway to move them in the case of snow removal. So as far as it stands right now, there are barricades that are there. The roads are closed with signage that I had the coverage removed off signs, and I had the barricades put up immediately so that people were very well aware the roads were still closed.
Right.
We still haven't, there's no definitive answers what's going to happen there yet.
I understand that, and so do the people in the neighborhood.
But I've had people tell me they want a private community, they want to gate it off so that nobody can drive through this. First of all, the town board does not have the authority to close roads. Okay, that has to go through the highway superintendent. But no decision has been made to permanently close any roads. We were anticipating someday North 80 project may happen. I don't know yet. And that bypass road, we believe, would definitely answer a lot of questions about drive-through traffic there, to keep them away from the neighborhood. It may be another study that once that road someday is done, we do another study if we open up one of the streets, see how it affects traffic flow. Still eliminating truck traffic, only local delivery, stuff like that. Maybe that would help to see what would happen. We don't know yet. We don't know what's going to happen there.
We all understand that, and we understand that it was a temporary closing, that it wasn't permanent. But the way everything happened last week, it left a bad taste in our mouth.
And I tried to change that as fast as possible.
Oh, you did. You were right on it. But there wasn't any transparency about notifying us, or, Dominic has a list of everybody. I'm sure he would have been willing to send out a blast that was going to happen. It was also stated that for fire and safety and all, I've talked to the Thornwood Fire Department, to a chief and some of the members, and they're not going to go on 9A. They're going to come down off Pythian, Belmont to Rutledge or Phillip or West Stevens. They don't need 9A because that would be 2 lights at least, plus the traffic. So it would be more efficient for them and for Thornwood if they needed to call in Thornwood. They wouldn't be going on 9A. It's common sense.
I think the thought there is if mutual aid needed to be called and it was Elmsford that was coming, they would need 9A. I remember that in the conversations. That,
Okay,
you know,
I-
Thorne was on another call and Elmsford needs to
Or
respond.
Valhalla. Valhalla would be coming
Valhalla
up
wouldn't need
Bradhurst.
9A either, but Elmsford
Right.
is
So
close.
there's one out of two.
Right.
But
That's just one of the things I
it's a lot
comments I
of
remember.
common sense. And I think to be notified that this might happen when, you know, we've all been so happy with the way the neighborhood has been since we've had the temporary closing. And it was also stated that this road should be open, and it implied that they were always open. Belmont was a dead end when that development, and it is a development, when that development was built, Belmont was a dead end. So a lot of things changed, and for the better right now for us, especially with Amazon, and the fact that it was stated, we're not going to tell anybody. It's not going. We're not going to advertise that it's open.
Who
All
said
you
that?
needed,
Who
it
said
was
that?
in an email that was sent to
From who?
Dominic from your superintendent of highways.
You said we're not going to tell anybody?
He said, we're not going to advertise that the road is open. All you needed is one person working at the medical center and one person working at Bradhurst Avenue, 19 Bradhurst, and it would travel like wildfire. They would have all been coming up the hill, and Amazon would have been right behind them. I was going to bowling on Tuesday morning, and I have to go the long way, a little inconvenient, but it's better. And as I was going past Belmont at 8:30 on Tuesday morning, I saw the road was open. On my way back, I said, I'm going to check the road. I came back and I drove up Belmont straight to Dominic's house because I didn't have my phone and I was ringing his bell and he was incapacitated. And, you know, it's that obvious that you know what's going on in your neighborhood. So I thank the board for your quick action, but I don't want to see that happen again. We went through last winter. If you have a barricade up, you only have to plow the snow to the barricade. And off Old Mill River Road, behind the funeral home, you don't even have to do any plowing there at that part of West Stevens because there's no reason to drive on that part.
Well, to their defense, it would be easier for them to run right down the street. It would be a lot easier for them. But my thinking was plow the street, put the barricades on, move on. That's my thinking.
Well,
I've
it
had
was
people
disappointing.
complain. I've had people complain to me that kids are now playing in the streets.
I walk, and they're not playing in the streets. The
Well, I would
biggest
hope they
problem-
would. That's how I grew
Biggest
up.
problem on the road now is the electric cars, because when you're walking, you don't hear them coming. But the kids aren't playing on the streets.
It should be.
Yep, that's how I grew up.
We can't, there's
What
not.
was that?
You're not asking him to solve the electric car,
No,
are you?
no, he can do what he wants with the electric cars. Anyway, board, thank you. Merry
Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Dominic, where you been for the last half hour?
I had to go vote at the Hawthorne Fire District, and I made it in time. My wife and I went, and then came back because we knew this was going on still. I'll be very quick. For those temporary closures, this goes along with what Pat was talking about. For the temporary closures of West Stevens Avenue and Belmont Road, to prevent further issues until a decision could be made on those two roads, and to keep them closed under order of the town board, it might be helpful if the town board could consider passing a formal resolution covering their past decision to keep those roads closed on a temporary basis till such time as all the things that need to happen can happen. Memories fade and actions are sometimes taken that cause serious disruptions that should not happen. That's all I wanted to add. Thanks. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you, good night. Anybody else?
Hi, my name is Marilyn Johnson Flater, and I live next door to 715 Sleepy Hollow Road. So I'm sorry to keep bringing this up, but over the years, attending planning board meetings on this issue and listening to the preponderance of people coming up with very reasonable objections and really questions about what was going on, what ends up happening is our questions get waved away, and these developers who are, what would you say? They have lied, they have plagiarized and done cut and paste on these things. They have misrepresented what's on the property now. There are 2 houses that were outbuildings to the main house that have people living in them, and they're charging rent. And I know this because I've had the mail delivered to my house by accident. This is not, they were scolded over this when the issue first came up before the board. That's been forgotten, waved away. The zoning always, for years and years, it was a 1-acre zoning neighborhood. Suddenly it's changed and there's now something called cluster that allows for 31 houses, wetlands, that being overlooked, the steep slopes, we're going to get that overlooked. I mean, all of these things seem to favor developers who are not acting in good faith and who repeatedly seem to not have the law applied to them. And as much as all of us have objected to this, they keep coming up and being welcomed. So when we saw on the itemized thing for the planning board that the acceptance of the draft environmental statement was going to be happening, people were very alarmed and then showed up to the meeting only to see that the developers had, not surprisingly at all to us, already boasted of a victory on the state website. And the reason that it wasn't brought up before the meeting and they didn't vote on it is because it was embarrassing to be already called as victors and to say that the town had already approved it. It is baffling to me, and I have to ask myself, who is this developer? He does not have a good reputation. The people who are handling it keep committing these things that would make you think, you guys stand outside, let's talk to our town. We are the constituents. Aren't we the ones who should be represented by this board? And yet, bias is shown for these developers over and over and over again. And I'm feeling not represented, and I'm really scared about the 31 houses that they're talking about going in, this crazy retaining pool that makes absolutely no sense environmentally. And I also know that it's right on the line with Briarcliff, and this is a Briarcliff Park that Pecanico Lake leads into. There's the Rockefeller Preserve, there's the Audubon area, there's the county. It is like all of these entities, when they find out what's going to be happening, the developer is not going to be there. It's going to be the HOA. He's going to leave. They're going to leave. And all of that is going to be a mess for us and a mess for you. And I do not see this planning board acting in our best interests. And so I come to you in frustration and thank you for listening. I know that they're not under your control, but they are in your administration. And I do think you have influence. And we don't understand what's happening behind the scenes that makes this play out like some weird play. I mean, who are we? Oh, we're the people who are going to be left, with the mud on our hands. And we're trying to have our voices heard, that's all. And so thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Maureen Petrie. I live at 748 Sleepy Hollow Road. I was so happy, Carl, that you said, is there any compromise plan that could be made? And there's always a compromise plan. But since the beginning, the developer has stuck to this 31 house number without seeming to want to budge. I did not move in 2019 to town of Mount Pleasant. I moved here as a small child in 1960. So I've been here a very, very long time, and I really appreciate your comments about maintaining the town in a way that's livable. What I want to let you know too, it's not just a bunch of tree huggers, and it's not just a bunch of entitled people living next to the lake that are concerned about this. The former mayor of Sleepy Hollow, who's a Republican, came to speak at one of the planning board meetings because he was really concerned. He knew about building major projects, and he was really concerned about the amount of fill that's going to have to go into this project. I'll just leave it at this. If the zoning laws were followed as they are, the developer would be cashing his check and going off to sunny Florida already. You know, this fight, this protracted situation is not of our making. It's somebody that wants to put 50 pounds of potatoes in a 10-pound bag. So I really look to your leadership to try to find some kind of a compromise. I am not a legal person. I'm not up here to make legal arguments. I'm just saying I want my property as someone in a 1-acre zoning to be respected. I want the environment obviously to be respected. And I'm looking for your leadership to work with the planning board, work with the developer to come up with some kind of a reasonable compromise. 31 houses, this is not like 31 flat acres. Steep slopes, wetlands, you know, a bedrock that you can see on the hill. I mean, this is a very difficult property. If it weren't a difficult property, it would have sold for a lot more than $2 million. I mean, that's the bottom line. All right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm curious, has anybody ever suggested a count for houses? Has there been any?
Yes, I actually took I can send a letter to you, I don't know if I copied you, but, when I heard that law, New York State law, and I'm not aware, but they brought up this article, something 278. And, because I kept staring at the map, you know, like, I don't understand, how can you put 31, by the way, there's an accessory apartment, or at least in the draft, there's an accessory apartment in every home. So it's actually 62 families. The traffic impact study did not take that into account, but I digress. So I read that, and then finally the light bulb went off because I was like, okay, now I remember this because I joined it, I knew nothing. And so what happened was the planning board, I don't know if the developer too must have wanted this. They said we can act as though the land is flat and decide on the total number of homes, and then we can cluster them. So that's how the logic was, but that's not what that law says. And actually, your town code on the cluster subdivision cites that same New York State law, that you have to deduct the steep slopes, that you have to deduct the wetlands, deduct impervious surfaces. So I took the developer's numbers that they had laid out in the DEIS and did just that. They provided the acreage, and it came down to 4 buildable acres. And there's already 3 houses there. Doesn't mean they can't tear them down and put something else in. And so that was my call to, this is acted erroneously, but let's ask the developer, reduce the number of houses. We had a number of people who asked for that. Come up with something reasonable and show us the incremental impact, right? There's going to be impacts to the town taxes, and there's going to be impacts to the environment. There's some break even in there. Is it 4? I don't know. I did it that way. But yeah, there is a calculation, but I push it back on them because I'm sure others do, to say, well, show us. You know, there's 3 there now. You add 1, you add 2, you add 3, you add 4. Shouldn't be too hard if you got, the right input. And I think you've heard that there's not a welcomeness, but an openness to looking at a significant
unsolicited, unsolicited. I didn't write down his name unfortunately, but I can do it again.
Interesting.
And anyway, that's the background. I think the willingness to come to these compromises, is really sincere, to meet each other's goals. I know you want tax money, makes sense, but let's not destroy the property in the meantime that is going to destroy any value of those homes if they're there, and also the property values around that. And, you know, this potential litigation, which is unnecessary, right? It really is.
Definitely.
Thank you for.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a point, you mentioned accessory apartments. You don't automatically get an accessory apartment. If you build a house, you don't automatically get approved to put an accessory apartment. I think you have to be there about 10 years or something.
It was still in the DES and it was in, so I don't know that, and I don't know if they, I know they didn't say anything about that subject to approval, and it was in MICE at the end of the law. It was not, that's why the word obfuscating comes up a bit. You know, it had to use a magnifying glass to find it.
I just don't like people throwing things like that in there. That's misleading to the public to make people think that, well, one house is going to be a house and a half. It's not going to be that way. It doesn't work that way.
I think they could have shared that too. That would have been great. Maybe they cleared it up in the FEIS.
Good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, where do we go from here, Mr. Supervisor?
Does anybody else want to speak on anything?
The weather?
So are we going to finish the agenda or go into executive session and then come back?
Well, we have our town clerk's report. We can move on to get that done.
Town Clerk's Report, Town Board Meeting, December 9th, 2025. Continued public hearing for the preliminary 2026 budget. Continued public hearing to consider a local law authorizing the town to override the limit on the amount of taxes that may be levied for the 2026 fiscal year. Received and filed notice of annual election on December 9th, 2025 for the Valhalla Fire District. Received and filed the Scarborough Fire District adopted 2026 budget. Received and filed 5 zoning board resolutions for Michael Stallone, 145 Bennett Place, John and Jennifer Mattoon, 11 Wappinger Trail, Joseph Sifra Jr., 45 Andrea Lane, NYC DEP 2 Walker Road, and Thomas Meyer, 22 Pine Road.
Thank you. On item number 2, do we want to come back and do the council reports, or you want to get that out of the way and then go back?
I'm deferring to the rest of my colleagues. Danielle, Mark, what do you think? I mean, I need more information on item number 2 before I can vote on it with a sense of authority. I don't understand part of it.
No, I agree on that. I think, is your question, do we want to go?
Do you
Into
want to finish
executive
the
session.
agenda and hold that to the end, or you want to go?
I mean, I would finish the agenda and
Okay,
go
I-
into executive session and come back out for item 2.
Okay, very good. I can agree with that. Thank you. So we're going on to council reports.
All right, moving on to council reports. Councilman Saliano?
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My report's the controller's memo. The following claims are submitted for town board approval. From the category of receiver of taxes, $1,587.29. Town clerk, $783.37. From the category of senior citizens trips, $1,830. Youth programs, $1,575. From the category of community beautification, $2,160. From Capital Old Farm Hill Water District, $40,205. From Consolidated Lighting District, $2,719. From the category of Mount Pleasant Consolidated Sewer District, $4,993.90. The grand total from the Controller's Office, ladies and gentlemen, is $55,853.56. I move for approval, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second?
Seconded by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The second item, Mr. Supervisor, is a budgetary transfer. It's authorization for a transfer of various department budget transfers. It's a transfer of $3,700 from A 1410.468 to A 1410.19 to cover seasonal employee through the end of the year. I move for approval for this budget transfer, please.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Mark. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I thank you. Have a great evening, and thank you very much for coming out tonight to express yourself. It's appreciated. Thank you.
Councilwoman Zano. Off tonight?
It looks like I have the night off tonight. So, I hope everyone has a good evening. Thank you for coming out.
Councilman Saraceno.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everybody. I have one item tonight out of the Highway Department. This is Resolution 453-25, authorization to release bond for a curb cut permit, permit number 1517. The work has been completed, the road has been restored, and the release of the bond is being requested. Resident name or property owner name Frank Gregory, bond amount $360. The work has been performed at 186 Evelyn Avenue, Thornwood, New York. With that, I move for approval.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilwoman Smalley.
Good evening, Mr. Supervisor, fellow board members, and members of the public. I have one item this evening from the town of Mount Pleasant Highway, Police Department. This is purchase order 30-25-31. It's for Nicolo Lighting Design Incorporated, and this is for 12 copper lighting Streetworks LED post-top fixtures. We did a huge LED project several years ago. This particular area of town was left out. It's a neighborhood that will now receive LED post-top fixtures. The total cost is $5,976. Move for approval, please.
Motion by Lori,
Second. Tom?
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Just one note, please remember that snow ordinances for parking are in effect. They went in effect the beginning of December. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you. I'll just go through our meetings, schedule of meetings. Town Board, Tuesday, December 16th, 7 p.m., just prior to the regularly scheduled work session. Work session, Tuesday, December 16th at 7 p.m. Business session, Tuesday, December 23rd, 7 p.m. And authorization to hold a 2026 reorganizational meeting, Tuesday, January 6th, 2026. Need a resolution.
Move for approval.
Motion by Mark,
Second.
second by Tom. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, item number 2, resolution 45025. I need a motion to go into executive session.
I'd
So-
like to move to go into executive session at 9:38 p.m., please, for reasons of item number 2, potential litigation. Thank you.
Motion by Lori,
Second.
second by Danielle. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Going into executive session. Stand by.
To be continued.
I don't know, sugar, right? Did you shut this?
Okay, closing the executive session, it's Tom and Mark. And then motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Tom,
Second.
second by Danielle. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
Good night.
Good night.